Hello and welcome to the Bonehead Championship. I'm Ben from the Bonehead Podcast, and what we've got today is your Round 1 Match 3 preview. So coming up this weekend, we've got another game for you. It's the Marienburg Minotaurs, our Imperial Nobility team, and they are taking on the Neverbay Nightmares, our Skaven team. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at the rosters for both the teams, talk a little about the matchup, but most importantly, we are going to have a look at our Viewer Championship. So if you've been guessing on games, stay tuned because your scores and your names will probably be on the board. If you haven't, then stay tuned and don't forget to put your prediction for the score for this match in the comments here, and you score some points. And as everybody knows, points win prizes. So first up, we've got the Marienburg Minotaurs. So this team is going to be piloted by Ian Triple Pow Triplo this week. Now, we put this to the patrons to decide the roster, and they went with the Ogre build. And I've got to be honest with you, if you guys have been watching the podcast for a while, we took the non-Ogre build and played it against the Ogre build, basically, and the Ogre build won out. So I do like this. So this roster, we've got one Ogre, Boney the Ogre. Now, this model will look familiar to some of you, but it's kind of been revamped. So when Windsor Chog went and got basically employed by Games Workshop, we bought their Ogre miniature. And with a bit of digital sculpting, we've given it an alternate head and naturally scaled it up 110%. This is a big boy, a big chunky Ogre, and it will be available in a couple of weeks or so. So keep tuned for that. Here's a wicked Ogre model. Now, Boney the Ogre is going to be leading the team here. We've got Jules Rimet and Royce the Pomp, our two blitzers. We've got Podrick Payne and Angus von Muller, two bodyguards on this roster. We've got 4 linemen and 2 throwers, Ivan Volokov and Fitz Magic. Now, this roster comes with 2 rerolls and comes in bang on 1 million. So we've got nothing to buy extra fan factor, extra dedicated fans, and nothing in the treasury. So this roster is all in basically on its positionals, but with 2 block, 2 wrestle, and an Ogre there with Mighty Blow, it should be in a pretty good spot when it comes to combat power. And the Minotaurs are going to be facing off against the Neverbay Nightmares, our Skaven team. Now, I'll be piloting this team, and it is my actual tabletop team. It's my favourite team. Now, we've gone with the Rat Ogre build. Again, we put it to our Patreons, who named some of our players and chose our roster. And we've got the Rat Ogre. So we've got the Toxic Rat Venger here. Now, I'm picturing this guy going big toe-to-toe with some of the other big guys in this roster. We've got Buzz Justice and Thrillkill Warpclaw, our 2 blitzers. Just 2 gutter runners on this roster. It's not the Skaven roster I'm used to playing. I'm a 4 gutter runner kind of guy normally, so I'm looking forward to piloting this one. Ratfink and Ixril Rush are 2 gutter runners. We've got Click Warp Slinger, our thrower, and Queet, Veskit, Rotten Ratkinson, Stormnose, and Gritlock, our linemen. So 11 players on this roster. Because Skaven got a little bit of a buff this time around, 3 rerolls, enough cash to get an extra dedicated fans, and that takes us to TV 985 there with 5k left over. So there's only 15k in the team value difference. We've got the same amount of players. I've got an additional reroll, and we've both got a big guy. So as far as Skaven go, we got the best thrower in the game. We've got the best runners in the game as well, and we've got some pretty handy blitzers. I like Skaven. I like this roster. I'm very excited. So you guys wanted to know a bit about the coaches each round. So this round, I'm going to be running Skaven, and the Nobility team is going to be piloted by Ian Triple Pow Triplo. So if you listen to the podcast, Ian's been on a bunch of times. He is essentially our 3D printing correspondent. He's an absolute machine with the machines. Now, from a play point of view, Ian is more of an OWA player, okay? He loves underrated teams that give him an extra challenge. Even when he took humans to Beachhead, and I played against him actually in the second round, it was a good match. No rerolls, basically, all griff. So Ian is a massive fan of playing alternate rosters and rosters with a challenge. So when playing with the Nobility, actually going to play into his strengths. He knows humans, and he knows how to play teams without rerolls that actually are just a bit underpowered. That does sound a little bit like the Nobility team. He's very good with Ogres, and he's very good at playing against Skaven. So I think this is a really good matchup, and I'm very glad that he chose Nobility, because actually it gives me a chance to play with the Rat Ogre in this edition, and I've played a ton of Nobility recently, so it gives a bit of a different angle to it. So that's Ian, and he's running the Nobility team. So we've met the teams and we've met Ian, the coach. It is going to be a tight game. I am a huge fan of Skaven, and you guys know that I do love running Skaven and doing some absolute shenanigans. But part of that is basically running 4 gutter runners. So I'm going to be running the Rat Ogre this time. So we're going to have the Rat Ogre versus Boney the Ogre for the Marienburg Minotaurs team. I don't feel like that's a massive advantage, and with the animal savagery of the Rat Ogre, I am in danger of hurting my own Skaven as well. So if the Ogre gets some removal and the Rat Ogre gets some self-removal, I could have a Skaven team that falls in on itself very, very hard. On the other hand, I do have the best thrower in the game, 2 gutter runners, I've got some blitzers, and that Rat Ogre, if it runs rampant and does a great deal of damage, gonna go really well. One thing absolutely need to watch out for is the fact that Frenzy on the Rat Ogre is going to do nothing against the dudes with Fend, and stand firm on those guys as well. So the 2 bodyguards. So my rampaging frenzy targets are limited to the blitzers who have block, really, the Ogre who's strength 5, so I'm going to need to get some assists, or those throwers. So when I go into this game, I'm thinking I'm going to have to pick my targets very carefully with that Rat Ogre to really maximize the 4 or 6 die frenzy block. So that'll be my view of this matchup. Nobility versus Skaven is one I've played a couple of times from the nobility standpoint, actually, and I loved it. That Fend is a massive contain game. Skaven to break through some holes, and they can run some crazy dice and some crazy options. But if your dude is fending and you don't get follow up, you still just apply those tackle zones, and at some point the Skaven team are going to roll ones. Nobility blitzers are underrated as well, so there's plenty of speed. I like this matchup. I think it downgrades Skaven ever so slightly. I think Skaven basically play into the nobility strengths here, and this is looking pretty fun. So now we're going to go through the Viewer Championship. So each week we'll put up a video, very much like this one, previewing the teams. And then we want you guys to guess the score of the game, to guess the final outcome. You can score up to 3 points per round. 1 point for choosing the right outcome. Wood Elves win, Wood Elves lose, or a draw. You get 1 point for each team's score that you get correct as well. So if it's a draw 2-2 and you predict a draw 2-2, you will score 1 for getting a team with 2, 2 for getting the other team with 2, and 3 for getting a draw. If you predict that Wood Elves are going to win 3-1, but they win 2-1, you'll get 1 point for picking Wood Elves to win, no points for getting their score wrong, but another point, so 2 total for getting the other team's score right. So you can score up to 3 points per round. We close the predictions at 9 AM UK Saturday. The reason for that is because the games will go live about 9 to 10 on our Patreon. So if you're a patron or a member, you will get the game on Saturday morning. Otherwise, it goes live Sunday morning. So we'll call off the predictions at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, so we don't give anyone a unfair advantage. Now, what we're doing is we're going round by round. We're keeping 1 overall big score, so there's still plenty of games to get there. And then we're going to give away some Bonehead loot and surprises at the end of each round, and a big prize at the end of the season, or more prizes depending on, basically, we've got quite a bit coming from our sponsors, so it should be a good place. So at the beginning of the video when I said points win prizes, points are most definitely going to win prizes, so please get involved. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at some of the great comments from last week, and then have a look, most importantly right now, at the leaderboard as it stands. Time to look at some of the best comments from last week. There was a ton of great comments, nearly 300 guesses, which is so cool. So if you are on the fence, please get guessing. It's just great fun to read. Trevor Craig, 2-1, solid win for the Wild Hunters. Despite conceding 1, they'll remain in control of the whole match and constantly in danger of scoring a third. Crawler's Bashers will be clutching at straws. Not bad at all. Sam O'Dwyer, going, I think, 2 for 2 now with the predictions, or 6 for 6, should we say. I'll guess a 2-1 win for the Wood Elves, but I reckon it's going to be a close game. Hopefully we gave you a close game. Austin Faulkner, I love this one. Wood Elves are going to war dance all over this 2-1, which I did really like. Eric Nielsen, though. Thank you very much. The video last week was the single best Blood Bowl match report I've ever seen yet by anybody. Good strategy and coaching, no rules mistakes, and excellent pace editing. You guys deserve more views. I predicted 2-2 tie. Wood Elves will score fast, but I think BT Ben is up to the task of managing the clock and cracking just enough elf skulls to keep it close. Now, we did make a few rules mistakes, and you guys are doing a superb job of keeping us honest. I do have to say, we've recorded 4 in one go, so there's a couple of rules that we will make repeatedly, and I try to call them out each match. But keep doing what you're doing and letting us know, because we are in this together. And if you guys are watching the videos for the first time or using this as a way to get into Blood Bowl, have a look at the comments, because some of those rules corrections are very easy to get wrong, especially if, like me, you played a million games of the old edition and some things die hard, like the blimmin' scatter. Anyway, thank you very much. Some top comments last week. So let's have a look at the leaderboard of our viewer championship. In first place, Sam O'Dwyer. Double dipped, 6 out of 6, managed to get both scores correct. Second place just behind is Martin, scoring 5 points over the course of 2 games. Now we've got a ton of you guys at 4 points in third place. We've got Stuart Shelley, Ash Catcham, Trevor Craig, Werfelsturm, Mr. Rip Giblet, Slajo, Ross Miller, David Rolstad, Chris Todd, Dan Pritchard, Joaquin Solis, Chris John, Gecko 8, Marco Nioso, Mike Cotterill, Flea AP, Puppers, or Papa Z, Serena, Steveling, Austin Faulkner, Nicholas Fitzgerald, Shadow Wall 1, Miss Handy Bandy, Ernest Cummings, Olive Bayou, Dave Warner, Blood Bowl Commissioner, and Dish Dash, all sitting there in third place. I'm loving this so far. If you're not in the top, stay to the end of the show. You'll get the full rankings of everybody who's taking part in our viewer championship. So we've had a look at the teams, we've had a look at the coaches. All that's left to do now is wait for the game at the weekend. So get your scores in below and stick around to the end of the video to see everybody's score do the Star Wars scroll. Anyway, I'm going to disappear and go back to bed for a bit. So thank you very much for watching. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy guessing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content, we get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.